Welcome back, episode 18, Musashi R&D Sessions with Dhiren.
And Ross.
They call you the sexy chemist.
Oh.
Why?
I don't know. I've been called a lot of things in my life.
What? Where's this new nickname come from?
I don't know.
Heard you got a new career in modelling.
No, don't do it.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah. Nice.
Tell us the story behind this, mate. This is gangster shit. This is.
Yeah, so this is my rap album cover. Nah, I'm just playing. So
I was expecting you to see you in like an open lab coat, but this is a little different.
Yeah, so one of my friends, he's a pretty awesome photographer. Shout out to Dre. Adrian Victor Portraits. Check it out. He had some studio time and, playing around, building his portfolio and took some photos.
You got a few likes there, mate. 166 so far and counting. It's like ticking over by the minute.
Yeah, so...
Because we keep showing people in the office.
Yeah. Well, I actually got that printed out in my place.
What are you going to do? What, do you put it next to your bed or something?
I thought that I had it there first. It was a bit creepy. So
I reckon going to get it printed on the wall behind you, I reckon.
Yeah, package it up. Give it to a lucky lady out there.
Yeah. Well, Hal wanted a picture as well. I don't know what for.
I don't know what for. Either maybe aspirational training goals or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sign a copy.
I didn't quite know I was going to be shirtless, so I would have done a bit of a shred.
Mate, if things don't pan out here as the product guy, you've got a career in modelling. Look at that. Or rapping.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Well, lucky I can't rap, so.
Like you got
All right, get it off the screen. He's going red.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pretty cool photo. Today's topic, another cool, exciting topic. We're going to look at the hormonal impact of training. So we all know the hormones play pivotal roles in our body, not just for training, for a lot of other sort of vital functions. But their influence on training is important. It can have an impact on sort of recovery, muscle growth, the way you sleep, lots of things.
Everything, yeah. And there's a bit of a stereotype of hormones at the moment. It's when we talk about hormones, you kind of tend to think of, mood swings, zits, Well,
there's probably a lot of gym guys out there think of hormones in a different way.
Yeah, well, Hal's going through puberty now. His body's changing, all these hormones.
Notice his voice is starting to get a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, hormones are all of these things, but they're also a whole lot more, right? So, your body has two bosses, really. So, first boss, your nervous system, right? Things come from your brain, travel down your nervous system through electrical impulses, right? And these things act super fast. So, you want to contract a muscle, that's a nervous system, signaling. Hormones are the other boss of your body, right? And they take a bit longer to act because they travel to your bloodstream. But basically, they're little messengers. And, the thing about nervous system, let's call it communication in your body, is that, lasts a very short time. Hormones, can cause an array of effects that last for a while.
And there are ways to sort of, what's the right word, is to have an impact on hormones in your body. There's things that you can do. Yep. And there's, how many different hormones are there?
So there's over 50 different types of hormones in your body, right? But really there's two main types. There's water soluble, which, comes from amino acids. We talked about that a bit. And, there's the lipid soluble or the fat soluble hormones as well. So it's important to know that because, water soluble hormones act outside of your cells because, your cells have a fat membrane. Fat soluble ones into your cell.
Well, today we'll probably look at the hormones that relate directly sort of to sports or training.
Yeah. So
both negative and positively.
Yeah. So it's a massive topic and, it's hard to really do much justice, but hormones are crucial. They're part of the muscle building process, part of the recovery process, but they're also, part of your mood, determine your mood, determine a whole lot more, reproduction, well-being, metabolism, response to stress, general growth and development. But one of the most important things to think about is something called homeostasis, right? So homeostasis, do you know what it is?
Hal, you know what it is, don't you?
No.
No, so nothing to do with your homies. But basically, it's homeostasis is your regular, your normal body function, I guess limits, right? So, you've got your blood pressure limits, you've got your body temperature, all these kinds of things. And hormones basically just try to make sure that they don't go too far out of, a set range with which your body can function and operate.
So they help regulate those things.
Exactly. So it's all about bringing your body back to homeostasis.
Right.
Right.
Probably the most talked about hormone, testosterone, especially for guys and training and even for women these days.
Yeah.
A lot testosterone sort of, your body creates it naturally.
Yep, your body creates it naturally, and some people looking to enhance their performance out there and inject it as well. But before we get into that,
Testosterone.
yeah,
That's what steroids are.
yeah.
Oh.
So
What's your trend cycle?
steroids are a form of the lipid-soluble hormones, right? So, we've got the amino acid ones, the water-soluble ones, and then we've got these lipid-soluble ones. So, cholesterol, testosterone, anything that goes into your cell, these are fat-soluble hormones. But, yes, wait, there's more. I know you guys are super excited about this topic.
I am.
So, hormones, they can act in two ways. Some hormones go to basically every single cell in your body. Some hormones go specifically to cells which have receptors that have affinity for them, right? So, something like your thyroid hormones, T3, T4, thyroxine. These things go to basically every single cell in your body, whereas something something a bit more focused only goes to a specific receptors. For example, serotonin in your brain only goes to serotonin receptors, right?
Wow.
So it's like a lock and a key. Some keys are the master key. They can go into lots of locks, but some keys only go into specific locks. And we're not talking about
About Hal losing his keys on the weekend and having to get a locksmith in.
So
Let's get that very clear.
So testosterone, talking about sort of receptors, and testosterone specifically binds to the receptors on muscle cells, right?
yeah, so
And it can aid in protein synthesis.
exactly. So something called the androgen receptor, right? So the androgen receptor is something that plays a massive role in protein synthesis and growth and development, right? So another way to think of hormones is anabolic and catabolic, right? So anabolic, you guys have heard these words before, definitely big buzzwords, but what does it really mean? A good way to think about anabolic is, putting things together. So remember, hormones are just signaling molecules. They just tell your body what to do. And in fact, some hormones, the specific purpose of these hormones is just to signal other hormones in your body, right? So it's called a hormonal cascade. So one hormone tells...
It's just like the middleman.
Yeah, exactly.
What a waste of time he is.
Stupid hormones.
What's your favorite window?
My favorite window?
Mine's the anabolic window.
Wow.
Wow.
You're ready to be a dad already. That was a
Yeah.
dad's
I
joke.
got that one off play school, actually.
Did you?
Wow.
No, you
Go
Yeah,
through
nah.
the
That was
yellow.
Sesame Street.
I like Windows XP personally.
Wow.
Anyway.
Couple of nerds here.
So yeah, anabolic, right? Putting things together. So, that's what some of these key hormones tell your body to do. So, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, growth hormones, these are the most famous anabolic hormones. Then on the other side, we've got catabolic hormones, adrenaline, cortisol again, cytokines, and something called glucagon.
What about insulin? Where does that sit?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Insulin's anabolic, not... sorry.
You didn't even mention it, so that's what I was asking.
Insulin's anabolic. Cortisol is not anabolic. I got confused a little bit. Sorry.
Cortisol,
As you can tell, this is not...
catabolic.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is not my exact area of expertise, but something I'm pretty interested in. So,
So you can you actually influence testosterone production in your body naturally, like through strength training, through diet and nutrition? Like, is there ways to increase testosterone levels?
yeah, definitely. And the type of exercises and things that you do make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Testosterone's a really interesting one. And, there's actually a generational thing, which is pretty interesting, given the three of us are about, 10 years apart. Maybe...
Shit. Thanks, boys. Maybe about 30 years for me. But
Something I've been reading is saying that, subsequently every 10 years, the average testosterone declines by about 1%. So, men are becoming less testosterone, having lower levels of testosterone as, society moves on and, for a variety of reasons, food supply, lack of exercise. And
So each generation, the testosterone levels are lower.
yeah, and
That would explain a lot, actually.
Yeah.
With you two.
yeah, hell.
What do you mean?
You're supposed to be in your testosterone prime, and I've probably got you, I reckon, in that area. And I'm kidding.
Maybe 20 years ago.
So it's declining by generation, but it also declines by age. You hit a certain peak, right, and then it starts to sort of drop off.
Exactly, yeah. But the generational dip in testosterone is actually, so profound that something that might have been considered healthy testosterone levels a few years ago, something that might have been considered a low testosterone level a few years ago is now considered healthy because, it's based on the average testosterone levels of the population.
That's interesting. Should look that up later as to why that's happening.
Yeah.
Like what sort of things are happening? Is it diet related? Is it, I don't know, guys just getting more in touch with their feminine side, a bit more sensitive? Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But I can, as like an older gentleman, I can see a shift.
Oh, the world's gone soft.
Well, that sounds like just an old like headbanger like me, but
Geezer.
an old geezer. But you can definitely see a shift. Like young guys these days are a lot softer, and I don't mean soft in a bad way. They are sort of more emotional. They are
Less masculine.
less
Traditionally masculine.
Yeah, and look, that's not a bad thing, but that's why you guys all struggle to put on muscle and we don't. No, I'm not kidding.
Wow. We're going to make this an intergenerational thing, are we?
We probably should.
Yeah. I think I've got the sweet spot, kind of the balance of the body.
Do you want to
Probably
bring that
agree
photo
with
back
that.
up again?
Yeah, I might put you in that in-house category after that photo. It's pretty gangster. But so testosterone, right? What you just mentioned certain exercises that you can do to help give yourself a testosterone boost. So strength training actually does give you a short window of testosterone boost post-training.
Yeah.
Is this related to the anabolic window? Is that where that comes from?
Well, the anabolic window is kind of all about, nutrient absorption and, getting these nutrients in at the right time.
But is that because, so what we're saying, protein synthesis is heightened by more testosterone, right?
Yep.
So the more testosterone you got post-workout would in theory increase that protein synthesis.
Yep.
So that's why it is important to get those nutrients post-workout.
In theory, but what they've tested is they've actually, measured these acute changes in testosterone.
He's gonna ruin this with science.
I know.
Watch.
So how we've been talking about this intergenerational gap of testosterone. That's talking about your average testosterone levels. But throughout the day and throughout the cycle of exercise, you do experience fluctuations in all kinds of hormones, not just testosterone.
When is testosterone at its highest? In the morning, isn't it?
Yes, but the ratio of testosterone to cortisol is inferior in the morning. What we talked about, best time of day to train is probably the evening, because this is when your testosterone and cortisol being a catabolic hormone, is at the best, as at the optimum ratio.
So if your testosterone is highest in the morning and then it sort of dips off during the day, by training later in the day, you can help to elevate those testosterone levels at another stage in the day as well. So it does make sense, going back to a previous podcast, to help sort of more hormonal or testosterone releases throughout the day to train later in the day.
Yeah. So, and exercise does stimulate this, testosterone release, but certain types of exercise actually suppresses testosterone.
Yeah.
Extended endurance exercise actually suppresses testosterone release.
What are we talking, like long distance running and
so typically
basketball?
Anything over 90 to 120 minutes.
Right.
Right. So you remember we're talking about anabolic, so things that build things up. So, testosterone is anabolic. Your body requires it to build, all kinds of cells, like muscle cells, right? And muscle cells are being built to adapt to training. Now, during extended exercise, you have no reason to be building at that point in time, right? So your body is getting much more, efficient at breaking down things, more in this catabolic, phase.
It's looking for energy, right?
Exactly. So, anabolic, putting things together. Catabolic is taking things apart. Breaking down your protein and your carbohydrate stores into blood sugar and, supplying this energy into your body.
And that's why obviously there's direct correlation between sort of the amount of muscle tissue that long distance runners carry. Obviously it's not it's not ideal for sort of a long distance runner to be carrying too much body weight, but that's why they don't carry too much muscle tissue either.
Yeah, and
their body's generally, or a lot of the time, in a catabolic state while they're exercising.
Exactly, and actually, men are more sensitive to this than women, right? And men typically I don't really think you need to tell anybody this, but men do have higher levels of testosterone than women, and this is why typically men have bigger muscles.
Men of our generation, anyway.
Yeah, maybe not Hal's.
Yeah, you notice that a lot with women. Like, it's really hard to manipulate the amount of muscle tissue they have, but they seem less susceptible to losing muscle tissue as well.
Yeah.
It's just they sort of stay at. You can see a girl that trains or a lady that trains at all the time. It's very hard for them to put on muscle, and this is probably directly related to the amount of testosterone in their body.
Exactly, and another thing that you can do to increase testosterone is have sex. It's a sexual hormone. And
Done.
One day Hal will understand what we're talking about.
Maybe we should.
Now, if you guys keep throwing shade my way, I'm going to throw.
Did you see the way he looked at me in the eyes then when he said that? That was so creepy.
He was suggesting something.
Ooh, I'm getting a hot flush. It might be hormones, or it might be. But it also dispels the myths of women that lift heavy in the gym will get too bulky and put on too much weight.
Yeah.
I think women should lift heavy and try to train exactly like a man trains.
100%.
You are limited by your hormones.
Yeah.
But all the other added benefits of lifting heavy for women are super important as well.
Exactly.
Bone density being one of them, because they're more prone to osteoporosis and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that.
Oh man, now I'm that guy that says "and things like that."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got rid of it. How'd you get rid of that saying?
I just
Just did things like
I
that.
just did other things like this.
He's been overcompensating with the word
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So from a male perspective, testosterone critical, and it can be boosted by strength training.
Yeah. Well, not just from a male perspective. Of course, it is important for females as well. Females do have testosterone. It's very important hormone in life and in exercise adaptation. So the important thing to consider when we're talking about testosterone and exercise is that the intensity of the exercise is actually what matters a lot. And not just testosterone, human growth hormone as well, which is another anabolic hormone.
HGH.
Yes, Sylvester Stallone's favorite thing. He got banned from entering Australia for having something like 30 vials in his bag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, his hotel room got raided, allegedly. I don't know for sure. Got raided, or he got wind of it, and he threw a whole heap of vials out the hotel window.
No.
Yeah. But anyway.
Was this back when he was a porn star or when he was an actor?
It was not
wasn't
that
long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, growth hormone's been linked a lot to anti-aging these days. I don't think there's a lot of science behind growth hormone actually like increasing muscle mass.
Maybe not for muscle mass, but there's definitely some performance enhancing benefits of growth hormone.
Mm-hmm.
One of the important things is fat loss with growth hormone. And like I said, exercise intensity is quite important for these hormones to be released, right? So when I'm talking about intensity, I'm talking about heavier weights or something like sprinting. This is why I'm such a big fan of sprinting, because it gives you a big boost of testosterone, a big boost of growth hormone, and all these all these hormones, all these endorphins, which make you feel good after you do something that's high intensity.
So growth hormone can help with fat loss.
Yep.
Does it have an impact on your hairline?
It actually helps to grow skeletal,
Really?
like your bones.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you see like a lot of guys that are using copious amounts of growth hormone. Their hands are giant.
Oh, really?
Their foreheads, their jaws. Yeah, well, yours are giant because they were giant as a baby. But yeah, it can influence the bone growth.
Yeah.
I just heard Hannibal Buress accused LeBron James of using HGH on an open mic Eagle album, because he said that's why his hairline is always receding.
No, I think that's just genetics.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Or
but
creatine.
Hannibal Buress just accusing everybody of things.
A comedian
Yeah.
accusing a professional athlete.
And
No
it wasn't
way.
a hip hop album, so not exactly,
Yeah, but so growth hormone actually has heaps of benefits. So I'm just going to read them out.
Growth hormone's actually a protein, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so amino acid peptide type hormone, right? So like I said, some hormones are made out of amino acids, but like you mentioned, amino acids like letters of the alphabet, peptides are like words or even chapters of a book. Some of these peptides are in fact hormones. So
Right.
some of these hormones are in fact peptides, like human growth hormone and insulin. These are some pretty famous ones.
So human growth hormone is produced naturally in the body.
Yep.
Where is it produced? In the pituitary gland.
Yep. So glands are a very interesting topic.
Mm.
Glands are what produce testosterone.
Ooh.
I mean, hormones.
Hormones.
Yeah. So you've got all kinds of glands throughout your body. Some pretty famous ones. Your pituitary gland, your thyroid gland, your adrenal gland. Even your gonads have glandular functions. But what they call the master gland is the pituitary gland.
It's a hard word to say.
I know. Say it 3 times fast.
I can't. Pituitary. It's not bad. You go, Hal.
That's pretty good.
No.
Anyway, so like I said, some hormones, only exist to signal other hormones. So, from the pituitary gland,
You go.
pituitary gland,
gland.
actually, signals some hormones to cascade the release of others.
So it's mainly released sort of post-exercise and during sleep, yeah?
Yeah.
And trauma.
Yeah, there is some relation to growth hormone and trauma. It's all about building and repairing. As you experience trauma, you may need to have some growth and repair. But growth hormone also decreases blood sugar utilization, decreases glycogen synthesis, increases amino acid transport into cells and protein synthesis, increases fat breakdown, increases collagen synthesis and cartilage growth, increases retention of nitrogen, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, increases kidney flow and filtration, and enhances immune function. So, typical anabolic functions, which we talked about.
You'd be marked down in a university presentation for using palm cards for that, mate. Minus 10%.
Hey, this is not university, buddy.
They're his own palm cards, though.
Yeah.
Who doesn't use their own palm cards?
Well, I don't know. Imagine the size of Hal's palm cards that he'd
Yeah.
need. They'd be like A3 pieces of paper.
Exactly.
So yeah, so some tips for boosting growth hormone.
Yes, that's my next question. How did you know?
Well, I sometimes just know these things. Exercise intensity, right? Like we talked about, with testosterone. Sprints, high intensity. Lifting heavy weights.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see these guys that lift heavy weights and never do any cardio, like me.
You do cardio. You do sprints.
I do. But some of these guys, they still stay incredibly lean, even though you would think just by lifting weights, it shouldn't necessarily have that effect because, you're not burning as many calories in total. But exercise intensity is directly proportional to, the amount of human growth hormone released, and growth hormone has a big effect on fat.
Yeah, and look, you see a lot of cardio bunnies in the gym as well, and bunnies, and what's the male version of bunnies? I don't know. And they basically just live on cardio machines, and they always
swag demons.
Yeah, they always seem to stay the same. They find it hard to lose fat. They find it hard to put on muscle. The first place you should start in the gym is with some strength training,
Yeah.
I think,
so.
because it's an all-rounder. You're boosting these hormones that we're talking about. You're putting on lean muscle tissue, and you're assisting fat loss anyway.
I love the term cardio bunny.
Cardio
Absolutely
bunny.
love it.
But yeah, it's not just physical. So, growth hormone and other hormones are actually psychological.
Really? So I can think, if I positively think that I'm going to produce more of these hormones, can that have an impact?
Well, actually, stress and things like anxiety, fear, anger can actually induce the secretion of growth hormone.
Anger.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I've got so much growth hormone.
Yeah. Well, it's important to think of hormones as, this feedback loop. Sometimes, like it's all about homeostasis, right? Bringing your body back to this level. So, if you have a high testosterone, you might experience some anger. Likewise, if you're an angry guy, you might, have this high testosterone naturally.
Is that where the term roid rage comes from? Higher testosterone levels might lead to...
Exactly. Nice segue. That's exactly where I was going. But, it's something that's not exactly proved. But fun story. Once upon a time, back in the day.
Is this a roid rage story?
It's a roid rage story.
Nice.
I saw this guy getting hyped in the gym. Monster of a guy. He won't be named.
Hal, yep.
He was wasn't exactly natural. Like his in other words, he was juiced to the girls. Man. He was hyping himself up in.
What was he doing to hype himself up? Smacking himself around a bit?
In the mirror, right? He's looking. He's like, yes, let's go. It was, you know, in the powerlifting context, time to lift some heavy weights, right? So he's like, let's go. Heads butts the mirror, cracks the mirror. His forehead starts bleeding. I was like, this guy's onto something.
He's on something or he's onto something?
But yeah, you know, that's kind of like the first exposure I've been to what I thought was roid rage. I was like, okay, damn.
That sounds so junky.
Yeah.
You see it in the gym. I see it in the gym still. People like training partners smacking each other around the face, and I know they're trying to G up for a set, but come on, calm down.
Yeah, and you know, hormones affect your mood. They affect a lot of things, so it's important to have a good hormonal balance.
And I think a lot of that is naturally, like your character anyway. I think if you're a naturally angry guy, it's only going to exacerbate that. But if you're a pretty chill guy, and you've got high testosterone, it's not to say you're going to be an angry character.
Dhiren's an angry man.
No, he's
What you call me?
He's the most level man I've ever known. Insulin.
Yeah. Well, before we get into that,
okay.
There's one tip for Hal about optimizing your growth hormone and your testosterone levels.
Mm-hmm. Lift heavy.
Avoid alcohol consumption.
Oh yes, alcohol is a big downer when it comes to testosterone production, isn't it?
Yeah, massive downer. So you know, chronic alcohol consumption and definitely affects testosterone and growth hormone. It puts you in a catabolic state.
Alcohol to me is the devil. Sound like Bobby Boucher's mum out of The Waterboy.
Oh, yeah. Football is the devil.
It is. I just don't see the positive benefits of it. I get it. I've been a young guy. I've drank. I just don't see the positive benefits of it.
Fun.
I understand that you can have fun without it, but you look at all the pros and cons. The cons far outweigh everything we've looked at. Gut health, like testosterone, like it all comes like it's a regular theme that comes up. Alcohol is a suppression to all these things, or
The only thing is, you know, the one aspect of your life is
what we're really here for, Hal, is an intervention.
Yeah.
No.
Hal, you've been locked out of your house this weekend for.
That was a real issue. I couldn't get into the fridge.
Yeah. So alcohol, terrible for testosterone production, hormone production.
Yeah, and you know, healthy reproduction and sleep cycle, and it's all related. So.
Insulin. Something that interests me, actually.
Yeah.
Well, back when I first started training, I didn't know a lot about nutrition or anything like that. I would try and create an insulin spike post workout because insulin, like, it is an anabolic hormone.
Insulin's considered the most anabolic hormone. You know, like we talked about putting things together. Insulin, you know, it's all about putting things together and shuttling these nutrients into your cells. Yeah,
look, it has a few functions of the body. It's made sort of in the pancreas. It can help regulate blood sugar levels, but it's also an anabolic hormone.
Yeah.
Is it an anabolic hormone because of the way it shuttles nutrients into the muscle cell? Is that the main reason?
Yeah. So remember what we talked about. Remember the principles. I'm trying not to, get too caught up in the jargon and things here, which we're trying to mention. But the principles are, homeostasis, right? And anabolic and catabolic. Some things put nutrients and things together to return to homeostasis. Some things break things apart to give you this energy to return to homeostasis, right? Or to maintain homeostasis. So, think about a meal, right? So, Hal's sitting there with his hummus and crackers.
Or his happy meal.
Yep. His happy meal, all right? This is going to give you, when you eat this meal, do you know what happens? You get a bit of a blood sugar spike, right?
Yes.
So,
you get a big rush of sugar into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
And how does your body counteract that sugar rush?
So, your body counteracts that sugar rush via insulin, right? So, insulin helps lower your blood sugar by shuttling glucose into your cells, right? Taking it out of your blood into your cells.
Right.
Right? So, if you, it's either stored in your cells as something called glycogen, which we all talked about, right? So glycogen, can readily be converted to glucose, which, can be used for energy later. Or insulin causes this extra blood sugar to be converted into and stored for much later use as fat.
Right.
Right.
So insulin can be both effective and a bad thing as well.
Yeah.
So effective straight after training, obviously, because it's helping to shuttle those nutrients into the muscle. But would it then leave your blood sugar level? Like if insulin is released in your body, it's taken all the sugar out of your blood, sort of shuttled it into the muscle. Would your blood sugar levels then be lower?
Yes, but it will lower it into the level that it needs to be, the homeostatic level.
Can it, if you're getting too much sugar, can you get a bigger insulin release and then it sort of leaves you with low blood sugar levels and craving more food, or is that?
So insulin's not the only thing, the only hormone in this cycle, right? Insulin has an important partner, and let's call it a dance partner for the sake of it, right? It's called glucagon, right? So when your blood sugar
Sounds like a transformer.
Yeah.
Glucagon.
Well, it's actually like a pretty cool name if you think about it, right? When your glucose is gone, it's time for glucagon, right?
All right.
I didn't make that up. That's actually what this thing's called, right? So if your blood sugar levels are low, what glucagon does, right? It's the opposite effect of insulin. It's a catabolic effect. So what it does, it takes your blood sugar out of your cells into your bloodstream, so you've got sufficient blood sugar.
Right.
Right. So
they're working, sort of interacting.
Exactly. So how problems with insulin occurs is you lose your sensitivity to insulin, right? So insulin comes in and signaling your body to shuttle these nutrients into your cells. Sometimes like I talked about the lock and the key. Sometimes you run out of locks, right? So you've got all these keys, which is the insulin floating around, but your insulin sensitivity, your receptiveness to this insulin is decreased, right? So what happens is eventually some people lose sensitivity to insulin altogether. This is called diabetes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are people with, like, and I know this is a whole different thing. So people with diabetes need to do their best to regulate their blood sugar level so that they're not getting these sort of spikes and troughs.
Yeah. Exactly. So, what can you do to keep your insulin sensitivity high? Exercise, muscle mass. Mm-hmm. Muscle mass plays a big role, right?
Why does it play a big role? Is it your ability to store blood or glycogen?
Well,
glycogen.
Muscle tends to have a significant amount of, insulin receptors.
Right. So,
having these keys for the locks allows, your body to utilize this insulin correctly.
Are you trying to say something?
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to say you should start lifting, Hal.
So for sports people training at the gym or athletes, should we be creating an insulin spike post-workout?
You don't need to be creating it. It's
already happening? It's
already happening when you consume any nutrients.
Right.
Well,
so
not any nutrients, but,
the right nutrients.
Nutrients have an insulin index like they do a glycemic index, and it's not always, directly related.
Yep.
Like, for example, something like rice has a pretty high glycemic index, but a pretty low insulin index.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So although it's sort of it's converted into sugar quickly.
Yeah.
It's glycemic so its insulin impact is actually low.
Yeah.
Right.
So
all these, right, I've seen a lot of guys. This is what they do, right? They bring their protein shake to the gym and they load it up with like glucose or fast release carbs straight up. So they're having it straight after a workout, and you have a chat to them and you say, why are you consuming 60, 80 grams of carbs post workout? And it's to create an insulin spike.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know is it doesn't take anywhere near that amount to create an insulin spike. Yeah. And sometimes if you get enough protein, that can actually create an insulin spike.
Yeah. So, insulin's an interesting one, but when it comes to training and, building muscle and, optimizing fat, it's all about the balance, right? It's balancing the anabolic effects with the fat storage effects, yes. Right? So, you want insulin to build, to help contribute these nutrient absorption into your muscle, but you don't want, too much insulin because then you're just going to be storing a lot of this, blood sugar, these nutrients from your diet as fat, right? So, that's why it's quite favorable to keep your insulin sensitivity high, right? I would say, insulin sensitivity is more important for training than, focusing on, what's actually happening. So, many over-fat people may want to avoid insulin release, right?
Over-fat?
Fat people.
Right. Okay.
I
Thank you.
tried to be polite.
You were going to say overweight, over fat.
But yeah, you know, if you have too much fat, you know, insulin's it's what's making you store this fat, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, so you people may want to avoid that, but you know, obviously, insulin is very important when it comes to building muscle and things. So you should try and keep your insulin sensitivity high.
How do you do that?
So you know, we just talked about exercising,
Mm-hmm.
exercising, you know, a solid amount per week. You know, muscle, having a significant amount of muscle mass is gonna help you. You know, that's why they say, you know, it's easier for people with muscle to lose fat, but you know, it's directly related to all these hormonal benefits of having more muscle, more muscle mass. You know, some nutrients, omega-3s, vitamin D. You know, high intakes of vegetables, so whole grains, legumes, lean proteins, nuts and seeds. All of that's going to help keep your insulin sensitivity high. Limiting caffeine. Right, I'm a caffeine junkie a little bit, but
So you got to limit it. That has an impact as well.
yeah, you know, regular tea consumption can help, and you know, good sleep. Sleep also affects your insulin sensitivity.
Mm.
Yeah.
We've talked about sort of all the positive hormones.
Oh, we didn't talk about what's bad for insulin sensitivity.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So highly processed carbs is the number one enemy of insulin sensitivity.
There you go.
So you know, when we say sugars are bad, and
Refined sugars.
exactly, but you know, what's at the end of the day, sugar's sugar, carbs are carbs, calories are calories. But you know, if you're looking at a long-term picture, insulin sensitivity is adversely affected by having more refined carbs.
And this is where I sort of come back and have a tiny debate on calories in versus calories out. Type of calories you're eating can have a hormonal impact as well.
It can.
So it's not always just calories in versus calories out. It's the type of calories and the hormonal impact that some of those calories can have on your body.
Yeah.
Cortisol,
Cortisol. So
a catabolic hormone.
yeah, so we talked about some of the anabolic ones, but yeah, let's touch on cortisol. You know,
Is it in any way related to cortisone?
well, cortisone is a glucocorticoid, so it is part of like the same family. But cortisol is, you know, what we talk about as the stress hormone. You know, cortisol is highest in the morning, so you know when you wake up.
Is that because you just gone 8 hours without any nutrition, or why is it? Is it just your body regulates it that way? We don't know.
Why is it high in the morning?
Don't know.
I
Just
don't know.
is.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, man.
We'll come back to that.
I don't know everything.
Hal, look that up. Why is cortisol highest first thing in the morning?
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about
So it's actually produced by the adrenal glands, right? Cortisol.
Yeah.
And it's a steroid hormone.
Exactly. So steroid hormone being, you know, this lipid soluble hormone, meaning it works inside your cell, right? So cortisol is very important. And, you know, we talked about all these anabolic hormones that build things up. And, you know, when we mean build things up, it's like taking these amino acids that you've digested and building them into proteins like your muscle. Cortisol does the exact opposite. It breaks down the proteins, you know, proteins such as muscle, and releases them into your bloodstream as amino acids to do whatever functions they need to do, right? So
is your body producing cortisol from training and stressful situations like a game or a run or
it's part of the stress response, right? To a lot of things, and you know, training is a stressor, but you know, it's obviously bad from a muscle breakdown perspective.
Yeah, but you need that stress response
exactly
in order to adapt, right?
Yeah, so there's something called the inflammatory response, which we won't go into, but cortisol plays a key role in this inflammatory response. And, you know, exercising is obviously related to inflammation, right? So cortisol is necessary for recovery from injuries because, you know, any injury you get has some kind of inflammation response, which we won't get into because it's a bit of a complicated thing.
Well, it's a response that your body undergoes to help repair that injury, right?
Yeah.
You're getting all this inflammation in that area, and that is caused by cortisol.
Exactly. So you actually release cortisol as pulses throughout the day. So cortisol is secreted throughout the day as 7 to 15 pulses of cortisol.
Throughout the day?
Yeah.
Does it depend on what you're doing, or is it just releasing them regardless?
It depends on what you're doing as well. So, you know, the type of exercise you're doing, again, is quite important. So, you know, like we talked about endurance training, particularly running is linked to, you know, protein loss from muscle because, you know, muscle is inefficient for running.
Is that how you run?
This is the last time I ran. I was like,
It's like you were running backwards. Yeah. So, and is this why they recommend? Well, I don't know who they are, but the recommendation is that you sort of get your strength training workouts done within sort of an hour. Is this cortisol related, or is that more nutrient related?
Well, it is cortisol related, but remember, it's all about these, the signaling molecules. They all play a relationship together, So, extended training is going to have this effect of, putting you in a catabolic environment where you will need to break down your muscles, and cortisol is, what facilitates that catabolic environment. Mm-hmm. And, the type of exercise that you do makes a big difference to, your acute cortisol response. So, like I said, running is, it's going to be more efficient in running. You don't need as big muscles as, if you're lifting weights. So it's important to distinguish between, the acute cortisol releases that you get and the chronic cortisol levels. Like we talked about testosterone, the spikes, but also, the long-term levels, which the average amount, which is important.
There's a lot of runners out there are going to kill us. That's changing a bit in running, though. Like you see guys like Dave Goggins and Cameron Haynes. These guys are like ultra marathon runners.
Yeah,
they're lifting weights as well to counteract this sort of loss of muscle tissue. And these guys are elite. They're running a marathon a day, sometimes more, and they're competing in 200-mile ultra marathon races. And they're quite jacked.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. So, yeah, like I was saying, cortisol actually causes particularly type 2 muscle to break down. So, fast twitch muscle, the sprint muscle. This is inefficient for, any endurance activity. But, for sport, it's quite important because you do want to switch between your energy systems, like we talked about on previous podcasts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this acute increase in cortisol following exercise also stimulates, this inflammatory response. So, like I said, it's part of the inflammatory response, but only cortisol and this inflammatory response can help repair damage caused by some exercise.
Interesting. Do we find out why cortisol is higher in the morning?
Something to do with the fact that it helps wake you up.
Oh,
yeah.
Might be something to do with the circadian rhythm.
Yeah. The thing with hormones is, is it this happening because of the hormone, or is the hormone level high, because of this? So
what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly.
The egg.
But who laid the egg?
Can we figure out your hip hop album name? Chronic Cortisol.
Chicks and eggs.
Chronic Cortisol.
Yeah. Featuring a Dr. Dre.
The Chronic Cortisol 2021.
That's the catabolic kid.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on hormones? It's a very complex subject, and we could be here for days and days, but I'm just very wary of overloading listeners. We could potentially get a hormone expert in at a later stage, and I think we've sort of covered some of the basics. One thing I wanted to know, you touched on before we finish up, certain exercises can help sort of boost testosterone growth hormone more than others. What are those exercises? What should we be incorporating into our training sessions to maximize that? Yeah,
so it's all about exercise intensity. So think about intensity as how hard something is over a shorter period. So something like running is hard, but over a short period it's not intense. So the intensity favors an anabolic environment, favors high levels of anabolic hormones, testosterone, insulin, growth hormone, right? These less intense exercise for prolonged periods of time might favor, a catabolic environment, because you do need to break things down to perform in this, longer exercise states. So, such as catabolic hormones, such as, cortisol.
Right.
Yeah.
So exercises, increased intensity. So the exercises that are going to create the highest intensity. Squats, deadlifts,
sprints, full body exercises.
Right.
Pull-ups, all these kinds of things.
Big sort of compound movements.
Exactly.
Cool.
So, the final point which I want to talk about with hormones is doping.
Yes.
Right? So,
okay. Geez, you're usually one to stay away from this topic.
Yeah. So, doping, hormones are of particular interest when it comes to doping, right? So we know that, testosterone, growth hormone, they have such a big anabolic effect when it comes to building, muscle and, improving performance and growth and fat loss and all these things, that people sometimes seem to manipulate this by introducing some external hormones, also known as steroids, right? Which testosterone is a steroid hormone. So this is why when you inject testosterone, it's colloquially known as steroids, right? So we talked about the acute levels of testosterone not having that much of an effect, but by injecting testosterone, for example, it keeps your testosterone levels higher for longer than a typical exercise bout would. So it put you in an anabolic environment for a longer state.
Right.
So
So what are you advocating here?
So using anabolic steroids allow you to recover much quicker and build muscle much better. But if you're sitting at home playing video games and using steroids, it's not going to instantly give you more muscle, right? It's all about your recovery and adaptation process.
Yeah, and I think this is why a lot of athletes use them, and we're definitely not advocating them because there's so many other health effects that you can have. But I think performance-wise.
Yeah, and I guess a hot topic right now is SARMs, or selective androgen receptor modulators. So I talked about the keys like testosterone binding to the androgen receptor. Mm-hmm. So you think about SARMs, selective androgen receptor modulators, as fake keys that bind to your androgen receptors in your body. They're not testosterone themselves. So some of them don't even actually suppress your testosterone production. But when you do have something like testosterone introduced, this is why your balls shrink.
Right.
Because you don't need to produce as much testosterone. So because you're getting it from an external source. So this is why a lot of guys on steroids, have all these erectile problems and
it can be lifelong. Long. It takes a long time for your body to sort of switch back on.
Yeah, and a lot is not understood about being in this anabolic environment for so long. Catabolic sounds bad because you're breaking down your muscles, but it's critically important because you need to release energy, right? So having steroids, the long-term effects are not well known. Arnold Schwarzenegger, these guys back in the day when they were experimenting with steroids, it was the great unknown. And, you can see a lot of these guys are having problems right now. And Arnold Schwarzenegger just had an operation.
Second heart operation to replace valves. And
exactly. So,
it causes it enlarges organs as well. Like your heart. Your heart's forced to work a lot harder.
It actually causes stiffness of your, a lot of your arteries and things like that.
Damn.
Yeah.
One other...
don't do steroids, kids.
Please don't do steroids.
Steroids are bad.
Yeah, and I guess another one, an interesting hormone is EPO, erythropoietin, which is
the Lance Armstrong drug.
The Tour de France steroid of choice. So what erythropoietin does is just a hormone, like any other hormone, signaling molecule that causes you to ramp up the production of red blood cells. Right, more red blood cells means more oxygen transport in your blood.
So it makes you a cardio king.
It makes you a cardio king.
The ultimate cardio bunny.
Exactly. So, we kind of talked about how hormones are, they help maintain this homeostasis. So something called blood doping is where people take their own blood and take it out of the body and refrigerate it, something like 10% of the blood volume, and reintroduce it at a later date.
So they got a higher volume of blood in their body, which is higher concentration of oxygen.
Well, actually, it causes a hormonal cascade, which causes you to produce, high levels of EPO.
Right.
So it's a complicated, dance hormones. This balance to homeostasis, or to a new desired homeostasis.
And look, no one knows that any better than Russian scientists, right?
Yeah, and I've watched Icarus, right? And these Russian scientists are the kings of it.
They're all over it.
But so we're talking about EPO. There's it's one of the most famous doping agents in the world. But there's more than one way to increase EPO, right? The old school way of doping was to actually inject EPO, the hormone itself, right? But testing methods can pick this up. So cheaters got a bit more sophisticated and started injecting blood doping, like we just talked about, this mechanism of trying to increase your EPO.
Is that why this passport was created? Because
what's this passport?
This passport. No, in the Tour de France, there was like this. I don't know the technical name for it, but because the guys weren't using EPO anymore, they were using these blood doping methods. There was no way of sort of catching them injecting EPO. So what they're taking is sort of regular tests of like their blood levels over a certain amount of time. If there's any variation in that, they can attribute it to like blood doping.
Yeah. So I guess that's why they do it. But yeah, so as number one, inject erythropoietin, EPO. Number 2, blood doping, right? So you've got more blood, more transport, more oxygen transport. Number 3 is actually a legal way.
Legal or illegal?
Legal.
Right.
Train at high altitudes.
Ooh.
Denver
Right.
Nuggets.
So, you're in a low oxygen environment. So a hormonal response is to, to ramp up your production and become, more efficient. So this is why, some people train at high altitude environments before competitive events.
You see it at, you see when the UFC has an event over in Denver. The guys that have trained at sort of sea level, they get up there and they try to fight, and they're gassed out within a minute.
That's why typically the Nuggets have
Better cardio.
One of the best home records for the last 2 decades.
Denver, up in the mountains. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of like machines and
Yeah.
little
So the
tents and
fourth
things.
way,
Yeah.
these altitude chambers.
Yes.
So you're in a chamber simulating this high altitude environment.
So you don't have to live in a shithole like Denver. It's actually a nice place.
But then it becomes a bit of a philosophical environment. You're making a machine to increase your hemoglobin levels, your red blood cells.
Sounds legit to me.
Well, why is that approved, and something like blood doping not? It's a bit of a philosophical thing. You're making a machine, whereas taking your own blood and re-injecting it. It's
Yeah, look, I see the debate, but it's no different from the sauna debate or the ice bath debate, where you're sort of utilizing a certain machine or environment to enhance recovery or whatever it is.
exactly. And in my opinion, I guess if you're injecting something in,
Even if it's your own blood?
even if it's your own blood, I would say that's cheating. Whereas if it's a change of environment or just using technology, then I guess it's fair play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Yeah, good point to end on hormones there with some chat about doping.
Yeah, well...
Don't dope.
Okay, I think we've summarised that enough. I think we've confused listeners well and truly, but that's sort of really top line. So we might go into depth a little bit more in a later episode.
Just want to make sure that, when I said cortisol was the anabolic hormone, I meant insulin. So, cortisol is definitely catabolic.
Nice.
Nice disclaimer. Listener questions, do we have any?
We do have a couple. One from Subhash Rajendra, who asked me personally, actually, is it more important to warm
Is Subhash a friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a mate of mine. I told him to go through the Musashi Instagram.
Okay.
He said, is it more important to warm up or warm down, stretching included? And I just wanted to clarify, I had this conversation with Dhiren earlier. Obviously, the answer is both, but if you had to choose between one or the other, which is more important?
Thoughts, Ross?
Warming up or warming down? I would say warming up definitely would be more important than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't go from a rested state straight into intense exercise without some sort of warm up.
I definitely agree.
I think they're both important, but cooling down, depending on when you're training, you're naturally going to cool down if you're still staying somewhat active. Like if you've just finished at the gym and you don't have time for a cool down, you're walking wherever it is you need to go. You're giving your body a chance to cool down anyway. But if you're going from a seated state, you've just got out of a 3-hour meeting, and then you get up off your seat and go to the gym and try and lift heavy weights straight away, that's a recipe for disaster.
He's a football player personally.
Right.
So is the same go for cardio?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. And I'll notice it, especially in jiu-jitsu. If I have not warmed up before my first round, I am gassed at the end of that first round. But if I've sort of got a little bit of a huff on, a little bit of a sweat on, generally at the end of the first round, I'm good. I don't know why that is.
I noticed the same in basketball, actually.
Yeah, so if you're going from just like a stagnant state to intense exercise, it impacts you. What were we just saying before? I had a point to make on the...
Warming down, walking home.
Oh, stretching.
Yeah.
I don't recommend intense stretching before strength training.
Dynamic stretching beforehand is good, which...
Little bit of dynamic stretching.
Leg swings, etc.
Yeah. It's because, the muscular tightness is often quite important in, specific movements and strength. So you don't want to lose that muscular tightness before. But yeah, some kind of warm-up, some kind of dynamic warm-up, definitely the most important thing to do. One of my good friends, who's a physical therapist, once told me, always warm up because it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah. And I think as you get older as well, you'll need to warm. You'll need to warm up. It becomes more and more important until the point where your warm up is actually longer than your workout.
Yeah. If I had one piece of advice when I started powerlifting, it would be to warm up correctly and, work on your mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good question.
Next one from Keanu Tuatoka, who asks, how long should you wait between working the same muscle group at the gym?
Yeah, there's a whole heap of sort of debate and a whole heap of results on this. And I think a lot of factors. It's like how many sets, how many reps, how heavy have you lifted, how old are you, what's your recovery techniques like. I think you can safely train a muscle group depending if there's a lot of soreness or tightness, probably 2 to 3 days after you've trained it. So myself, I don't. I leave it a bit longer because I'm a bit older. But back in the day, yeah, I could train a certain muscle group every sort of 2 to 3 days if I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we touched on it on the podcast with David Sinclair from New South Wales Institute of Sport, who's really a huge expert in this field. But yeah, I would wait 2 or 3 days between muscle groups. Also bearing in mind that your legs tend to recover a bit faster than your upper body.
Cool.
I wish my legs recovered faster than my upper body. Mine are sore for a full 5-6 days after the work. Like they just come good the day before I'm going to train them again.
Really?
Yeah, wow.
I don't know, there's something wrong there.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to squat, three times a week, no issue. Nowadays it's just 1.5 times a week.
Yeah, look, and it depends on volume as well. Like for a powerlifter, it's going to be very different. But if you're like a high volume bodybuilder style trainer where you're doing 20 plus sets on a certain muscle group, 5-6 exercises, there's no way you're going to be able to smash it again like that in 2 to 3 days. You might need a full week.
Fair enough.
So it depends what your goal is as well.
Cool. Sports news.
Sports news, what do you got?
Lovely. First of all, we have Lewis Hamilton.
Loomis.
I think we've got bigger sports news than Loomis. Robert Whittaker.
Okay, fine.
Musashi athlete, has just beaten Jared Cannonier in the UFC over in Fight Island.
Yeah, UFC 254, one of the biggest, if not the biggest UFC of all time.
Yep, he was the co-main event to Justin Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov. And
good pronunciation.
Yeah, and Rob looked amazing.
Yeah,
He did.
Dropped him.
I would say
highly technical.
Yeah, it was like I don't think I've ever seen Rob this good, and I've been watching him for quite a while. Mixing in some wrestling, just the king of the ring. Really.
Yeah, like he maintained great distance, and that jab was on fire. It was sharp, it was quick. He was finding a home for that jab.
Yeah, and you could see it on Cannonier's eye.
You could, and it eventually just sort of took over, and it opened up a few other things like a head kick and some.
Yeah, almost got the finish. Almost got a submission as well.
I know. He took it to the ground, took Cannonier's back. It was good to see a sort of nice all-rounder performance from Rob. Yeah. I shake whenever I get, I'm that supportive of him. I'm like shaking before one of his fights. It was that. Yeah. I was pumped for it, but
I couldn't even sit down. I was just pacing up and down. I was like, let's go.
That was an awesome fight.
Yeah, wearing the Reaper shirt representing
signed
by Rob Whittaker.
You sound like a couple of fanboys now, but we are.
I am.
Yeah. And also another Musashi.
Props to Cannonier.
Props to Cannonier. He did well.
He's so tough. Yeah, and tough. Almost gave Robert Wood to watch out for at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that makes Rob the clear-cut next person to have a crack at the title. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But in true Rob fashion, he's going to go home, spend some time with his family. He's very much a humble family man. He's got his priorities right. Spend some time recovering, and whatever happens.
Yeah.
Putting up the Christmas tree.
Next fight, though, after Rob was, a big fight. Khabib
and Gaethje, and I know we'll touch on this in the sports picks. I lost. I picked Gaethje, and look, Khabib's a man, isn't he?
Yeah.
What an animal.
Crazy.
The pace he puts on his opponent is next level. Like Gaethje has got a great striking game, probably a better striking game than Khabib, but Khabib never allowed him to get set. He never allowed him to utilize his footwork. It was just pressure. And the end of the first round, Gaethje was gasping for air.
Yeah, and Gaethje also from very high wrestling pedigree as well. We thought he might have the tools, might have the answer for Khabib, but
look, he avoided a couple of takedowns, but it's also sort of a well-known fact that wrestlers do not like being on their back. Khabib was able to take him down, mount him, take his back, do whatever he sort of wanted. There was a armbar attempt end of first round, and then sort of a couple of minutes into the second round, he got to mount and got a mounted triangle and rolled off and finished.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So,
is Khabib the greatest of all time?
No, I think if he kept
Who's the greatest?
if he kept fighting, he would be the greatest of all time. I think he's going out in his prime, which is cool. That's admirable. But he's got a great record, 29-0, never been beaten. But he's like, what is it, 9-0 in the UFC or something?
Yeah. And
So a lot of his
maybe
fights,
3 or 4 title defenses. Yeah.
that's it. So when you look at greatest of all time, there's a lot of things. There's longevity. There's the quality of the opponents. There is how many title defenses. He's won in dominant fashion against everyone. So he's definitely up there. He's top 3, I reckon.
Yeah, I would say most dominant, but greatest of all time, probably still John Jones at this.
John Jones, GSP. There's
Potentially Anderson Silva.
It's going to change every era. Like not too long ago, we were all saying Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
And now it's Khabib. Or John Jones, and now it's Khabib. And before Anderson Silva, it was Fedor. So, yeah.
Speaking of greatest of all time,
The Melbourne Storm.
the Melbourne Storm.
Another Musashi. What a great weekend for Musashi. The Melbourne Storm killed it in the grand final, beating the Panthers. What's the final score? 26-20?
26-20, yep.
Killed it.
Yep. Yeah, crazy. 22-0 at halftime. I was watching. I was like, oh, okay,
That
game
was
over.
outrageous.
They definitely had double scoop pre-workout
Yep.
before
Looked
the game.
like Craig Bellamy had some as well in the coach's
towards the
booth.
end of the game. But we've been supporting the Storm for I think it's 13 years now, and it's the only reason they're successful. No, it is great to support a team like that, such a highly professional outfit from the coach, administration, all the way down to the players.
Yeah.
Congrats to all the guys, and shout out to Musashi athlete Cam Munster.
Yeah.
Hopefully he holds on to that mustache. That's beautiful. It's like
Yeah.
a giant caterpillar, that thing. I love it.
Yeah, I need to up my game.
You do. You need to really embrace it and work on the thickness of the mo.
Yeah.
We also saw Richmond win the AFL Grand Final.
Richmond.
A previous Musashi sponsor.
Yeah, previous Musashi. We've looked after those guys in the past. So congrats to Richmond.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game?
I didn't watch it.
Did you watch it, Hal?
No.
Bit of a pouring rain showdown. I heard.
Entertaining.
Nonetheless. Yeah.
Congrats to Richmond.
Nice. And final in sports news, Lewis Hamilton
Loomis.
now has the most wins in Formula One.
Yeah. Just broke the unbreakable record of Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher. No one ever thought that record would be broken.
No, Lewis Hamilton's been getting it done consistently.
He has.
Yeah.
Just like his hair transplants.
Well,
Whoa!
a lot of time in that helmet moving at 350 k's an hour. So
Let's just ground that hair away.
Yeah.
No, what an amazing driver.
Yeah, and
Like-
people think Formula One's a bit of a game. It's definitely an intense sport.
I've met a few of those. They are high-level athletes. They all train. They're all lifting weights. They're all doing intense cardio exercise. Go drive one of those cars at those speeds in that heat for that amount of time and tell me they're not athletes.
Yeah, I know Hal hasn't been on the freeway yet, but drive anything that speed. Still learning how to drive Hal, but
He's got one of those little go-karts, billy karts.
It's insane the reaction time and precision and handling that you need, and foresight of the turns coming. Formula One's just a crazy sport.
It
and
is.
Hamilton's been on top of it for a good few years now. Still
Forever.
on.
Lovely. We have some sports picks.
Sports picks, I didn't do too well in the
you
last
didn't.
round.
We'll recap the last week. So
Far out.
Rabbitohs versus Panthers. Dhiren won with the Panthers. Adelaide versus Richmond. So these are both the semi-finals. Obviously, you both had Richmond.
Yes.
Brighton versus Crystal Palace. Sorry. Dhiren picked the draw.
Correctly.
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Khabib versus Gaethje. Dhiren again with Khabib. You both had Whittaker. Well chosen. And then Wallabies versus All Blacks. Ross, you had the one win with the All Blacks. So
I even predicted the scoreline. Go back and
did.
listen to the last podcast.
20
20. Yep, they'll win by 20. But
And
Yep.
it's 20
it wasn't enough to secure avoiding the dry mouth.
I almost got a clean sweep here. it was close. There would have been 2 scoops, but today's just the one.
All your family back in New Zealand will be absolutely killing you for picking the Wallabies over the All Blacks.
I know. I think I just got my passport taken away for
You
picking the
should.
Wallabies
You
over the All Blacks.
You should. What do you got for me? I'm hoping this is intra-workout, something with a bit of flavour.
No, the last few have been a bit flavorful, so today's nice and natural, 100% pure creatine monohydrate.
I've had creatine today, so hopefully this doesn't make me poo my pants.
Just make sure you have enough water. But yeah,
How much am I going? Not a
nice.
full
spoon.
big
Come on.
scoop.
full spoon.
Yeah.
How much creatine is that?
More than you need.
Yeah.
5 grams is a serve.
Yeah, but it's only.
So what's this?
That's less.
Can't I just have a scoop?
Don't worry about it.
No. Have a spoon.
No.
Or you can empty 1 scoop onto the spoon.
Okay, that's
That seems fair.
Yeah, look, I'm an old guy. I stick to it's a full spoon anyway.
Yeah, it's bigger actually.
Fuck. What an idiot. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
I already know what this is like. I don't like doing these ones.
It's been a while.
Got to get heaps of spit in the mouth. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
I'll do it really close to the microphone so people can hear it.
Please do.
Oh. Oh man.
Swallow.
No.
water,
Nothing.
gotta swallow.
Nothing.
Yeah, I can't do this without any water.
Right.
Carry on. What's
That's
next?
the point.
Yeah, so,
we're doing sports picks. So
I haven't had dry creatine in a long time, but
Not
you know.
that much.
Yeah, currently I just add it to my protein shake. Dissolves nicely in water, and then you
Yeah,
can drink
same.
it nicely. But
It's dissolving now.
don't worry, it's micronized, so it dissolves a bit better.
At least it's no water.
Dry scoop.
Okay.
Oh wow, good
God.
job.
That was terrible.
Well, we gave you a few good tasting ones. You know, we gave you Shred Matrix last time, so you just
Alrighty.
have to do a bit better than me on these picks.
So picks for the next 2 weeks.
That's why I don't bet.
Let's start off big with the first game of State of Origin, Wednesday 4th.
Far out. Look at that pump already.
Oh my god, I need some of it.
What do we got? Okay, this week's picks.
So State of Origin.
State of Origin. I'm a Queensland supporter. Queensland all the way. Heaps of Storm players. So
Yeah, I'm a Queensland supporter, but I'm gonna pick New South Wales because you know
here we go.
they've got a pretty
New
good
South
team.
Wales through and through.
I got Queensland.
Alrighty. In the cricket, we have Pakistan versus Zimbabwe.
Pakistan.
Pakistan's a much better team, but you know I'm gonna go with the Southern African connection over there and pick Zimbabwe.
You got a connection to pretty much every country in the world.
I guess so,
Yeah.
but whichever one's easiest to join the dots.
UFC, we have Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva on Sunday the 1st.
Anderson Silva's last ever fight.
Who you got?
I think he's gonna go out with a bang. I'm picking Anderson Silva.
I think he's going to go out with a bang to his head, and it's going to be Uriah Hall banging him. That didn't sound good, either, did it?
Not really.
Far out. I got Hall.
Okay, lovely. Thursday 29th, we have Juventus versus Barcelona.
In the Champions League, Ronaldo versus Messi. We haven't seen this for a while because obviously Ronaldo no longer plays in the Spanish league. But
It's going to be a highly televised game. I'm going to go Barcelona.
I'm going to go Juventus. Cristiano Ronaldo actually tested positive for COVID, so it's actually not sure if he's going to play. So it'll be
Really?
interesting. Yeah.
He'll beat it.
Yeah. He's fine now, but, there's testing protocols and things to get past.
He'll be fine. He's probably out of his system within a few hours. That guy.
Yeah.
And final one in the World Series, baseball, we have
Baseball?
Dodgers versus the Rays in Game 6 on Wednesday 28th.
What's baseball?
I'm going to go... I'm going to go the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, I always wear a LA Dodgers cap. I like the LA symbol on my hat, but I'm going to go the Dodgers because I'm a fan, even though I don't follow baseball significantly.
I'm
No.
going Dodgers as well because this is just...
What happened here?
Rays to-do list.
So this is a Rays mascot, yeah?
Yeah,
So Rays are what, stingrays?
yeah.
That's a weird mascot. That
Yeah.
doesn't look like a stingray.
Looks like a
Rays
Dr. Seuss
to-do
character.
list, that is shit.
Yeah.
They just lost every Australian fan ever.
Yeah. This is why I don't watch baseball.
Yeah.
No.
They've just, yeah.
So number 2 win the World Series. I hope they lose.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
LA all day.
Let's go Dodgers. Dodgers, baby, Dodgers. All right,
Yeah.
lovely. Got some good picks there. We now have a mystery quote.
Mystery athlete quote.
Let me get that back up. We sure do. Okay, I've got two by the same person. The first one is much less obvious, so if you can't get it.
Okay.
Always go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they won't come to yours.
Oprah Winfrey. Oh, no.
Okay. What's the second quote?
It ain't over till it's over.
Oh.
It ain't over till it's over. You're going to have to give us the sport as well.
It's also baseball.
Oh, baseball. Jose Canseco.
No.
Is that baseball?
Yeah.
Mark Maguire.
You got one.
Oh.
And you're both wrong.
Okay, I'm out.
I'm going to go old school and go Joe DiMaggio.
Nah, Yogi Berra.
Oh, even older school.
Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
Is that a person's name?
Yeah.
Yogi Berra.
He's one of the most famous athlete quoters, I guess, in history. But
Really?
he has some really dumb ones.
What?
Another one which is like, I always take a 2-hour nap between 1 and 4. Or from 1 to 4.
Right. What was he, a pitcher or a batter?
I don't think it was a pitcher because there's a lot of quotes against pitching.
Right. There you go. Well, none of us got that.
No. Well, I'm tired of these athlete quotes. Time for some real quotes.
Exactly. Let's go
From
Musashi.
Miyamoto Musashi. So, today's quote from the Book of Five Rings as well. Whenever we have become preoccupied with small details, we must suddenly change into a large spirit, interchanging large with small. What does it mean to you?
Mate, that is highly relevant in the world right now.
Yeah?
Everyone just gets caught up in so much little bullshit that is so insignificant. We're all against each other. We're all fighting over the stupidest little things. We need to actually think of ourselves as we're all together in this together. Like
Okay.
what? Yeah.
That's deep.
Not that deep.
Well, I was thinking about hormones, right? People get preoccupied on these small little things called hormones, you know?
Yeah.
Insulin, testosterone. You know, focus on the basics, right? Focus on getting your exercise and your nutrition covered and, you know, and sleep. And, you know, once you get these things covered, the small things, the hormones, your testosterone, your anabolic hormones will all come into play.
Darren's so literal with his... I'd like my one better.
Yeah. Yours was deeper,
A bit deeper.
but mine was actually physically deeper.
Yours was more related to today's topic.
Yeah.
So,
Good stuff.
anything else from you, Hal?
I think I'm happy.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Another cool episode.
Yeah.
We got a couple of excellent episodes coming up, which
Yep.
will relate to everyone, which I'm excited about. So stay tuned. Listen to us everywhere. Podcasts are heard. Or look at our ugly heads on YouTube. Leave a review for a free T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Musashi out.
Yeah. Musashi out.